By March 1861, the seceded states are seizing federal property and armories within their borders. But the Union soldiers in Fort Sumter refuse to leave. In April, South Carolinians bombard the fort. Federal forces return fire. 34 hours later, the Federals surrender. The first battle of the Civil War is a Confederate victory, with no casualties on either side. President Lincoln refuses to recognize the Confederacy and deems secession unconstitutional. He calls for 75,000 volunteers to quell the rebellion. In response, more states secede, with border states likely to follow. But Lincoln manages to maintain their loyalty with a mixture of political cunning and military coercion. America's roads and byways bustle with enthusiastic citizen soldiers. Both sides believe the other is weak and that victory will be easy. The opposing forces come to blows in July, 30 miles outside the U.S. Capitol, near a stream called Bull Run. The Yankees pierce the Confederate line, but are forced to retreat after a steady rebel named Thomas Jackson reorganizes the defenders and stands like a stone wall in the face of repeated assaults. With 4,500 casualties, the Battle of Bull Run is the bloodiest battle in American history up to that time. Confederate success continues with victories at Wilson's Creek, Missouri, and at Ball's Bluff, Virginia. Battles flare along the coast as the North begins to blockade southern ports in hopes of strangling the South into submission. Both sides prepare for a long and bloody conflict. The North must conquer the South. Southerners come to see the fight as a second war of independence. And like the first, they need only to hold on until the North tires of conflict or until they gain foreign recognition. 1862 opens with Union victories in the West. Mill Springs, Fort Henry, Fort Donelson, Pea Ridge, the fall of Nashville. Up-and-coming General Ulysses S. Grant tells the Confederates at Fort Donelson that no terms except an unconditional and immediate surrender can be accepted. U.S. Grant will be known as Unconditional Surrender Grant for the rest of his life. Grant moves further south, but is attacked by General Albert Sidney Johnston at Shiloh. The Confederates win the first day, but Johnston is mortally wounded, and the advance stalls as the Federals reorganize along the banks of the Tennessee River. Grant launches an assault of equal ferocity the next day and drives the Confederates from the field. 23,700 men fall in 2 days of action. Union success continues in the Western Territories as Confederate dreams of capturing Southern California are dashed. Union General George McClellan is very slow to move his giant army into Virginia. While McClellan lingers, Stonewall Jackson begins a masterful campaign in the Shenandoah Valley, stirring panic in the North. The world's first battle between ironclad warships, the USS Monitor and CSS Virginia, is fought to a stalemate in Hampton Roads. McClellan at last moves to the Virginia Peninsula by sea. He is slowed by a siege at Yorktown and in battle at Williamsburg and Seven Pines. Although he gets within sight of the Confederate capital at Richmond, he will go no further. With McClellan at the gates, General Robert E. Lee takes command of the defenders around Richmond. Lee is a daring leader and seizes the initiative. Joined by Stonewall Jackson, he attacks McClellan for 7 days, each time driving his opponent further from Richmond. Lee moves northward, hoping to defeat Union forces near Washington before McClellan can help.